Let's move on to the types of matrices. Basically, we have 7 types of matrices: row matrix, column matrix, square matrix, rectangular matrix, zero or null matrix, diagonal matrix, unity or identity matrix. Let us learn one by one. Row matrix. We know that we always represent matrix with a capital letter. When we talk about row matrix, this matrix contains only one row. Example, A is equal to 1, 2, 3. Now, what will be the order of matrix? 3 cross 1. Column matrix. When we talk about the column matrix, in this matrix we will be having only one column. Say B is equal to only one column, 4, 5, 6. And the order of matrix will be 1 cross 3. Square matrix. I already told about the square matrix. In this, the number of rows will be equal to the number of columns. And let us represent one square matrix with keeping in mind that number of rows is equal to number of columns. Matrix C is equal to here the number of rows and number of columns both are equal and it looks like a square, so it is called as square matrix, and the order of matrix will be 3 cross 3. It may be 4 cross 4, 5 cross 5, 6 cross 6, but the number of rows and number of columns should be equal. As I told you, this square matrix has a special type of elements, and those are principal diagonal elements. And let us mark the principal diagonal elements in this. Let us mark the principal diagonal elements in this matrix. The principal diagonal elements are 4, 1 and 2. The next type of matrix is rectangular matrix. In rectangular matrix, the number of rows and number of columns are not equal. Maybe the number of rows may be the more, or number of column may be the more. D is equal to 4, 1, 2, 6, 5, 8. Here there are 3 columns and 2 rows. So the order of matrix will be 3 cross 2, where the number of rows and number of columns are unequal. And this rectangular matrix will never have principal diagonal elements. The next type of matrix is zero matrix or null matrix. This is the easiest matrix as of now, because all the elements in this matrix will be 0 and you need not to do any further operations for this. If you have a null matrix or zero matrix for any operations like addition, subtraction, multiplication of a matrix, if you have a null matrix, then you need not to bother much about it. So the zero matrix or null matrix is a matrix which has all the elements will be 0 in it. It may be the square matrix, it may be the rectangular matrix, whatever the matrix may be and the order of matrix may be, but all the elements should be 0. The order of this given matrix is 3 cross 3 because the number of row and number of columns are equal. Next type of matrix is diagonal matrix. Has the word diagonal represent something about the principal diagonal elements? Yes, our guess is correct. Here, let us represent a matrix, and here this deals with something special about the principal diagonal elements. Let us consider only the principal diagonal elements, that is 4, 5 and 6. Let us consider only this. When you have the principal diagonal elements, something like this, and the diagonal matrix says that only the principal diagonal elements will be of numbers and all will be of some numbers and all other elements will be 0. And this is called as diagonal matrix. I repeat, in the diagonal matrix, only the principal diagonal elements will be of some number and all other elements will be always 0. And let us go to the next matrix. It is unity matrix or identity matrix. As the words say unity or identity, it is with respect to 1. Here, the unity matrix or identity matrix where the principal diagonal elements will be 1 and all other elements will be 0. This principal diagonal elements, since the principal diagonal element is 1, and this matrix is also called as diagonal matrix. And this is of our principal diagonal elements. So identity matrix is also called as diagonal matrix. In diagonal matrix and identity matrix, we concentrate more about, or it is with respect to the diagonal elements. So in this diagonal matrix or unity or identity matrix, always the matrix will be of square matrix because it is with respect to the principal diagonal elements. So as we know that if it is a square matrix, always the number of rows and number of columns will be equal. Similarly, in this diagonal matrix and unity or identity matrix, here it is of 3 cross 3 matrix and here is 3 cross 3 matrix. And this is all about the types of matrix. And if you learn the types of matrix well, and it is easy to understand the properties of matrix and also to do the operations with the matrix.